I think Shams reported that Giannis is open to being traded. And I know Jay Will went on ESPN and he said that Dallas, that has the number one overall pick, should think long and hard about trading that pick to the Bucks for someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's talk about this in parts. We talked about, on this podcast, we talked about looking at the bigger picture after the Pacers eliminated the Bucks this year in the playoffs, and how the Bucks are in a very tough situation moving forward, even if they keep Giannis, because they have one of the oldest teams in basketball. Next year, Dame probably isn't going to be there for most, if not all, of the season due to him tearing his Achilles. And when you're a player as good as Giannis, again, Giannis is widely considered one of, if not the best players in the league, most definitely top three. You don't want to continue to let these seasons wither away. These seasons go by and you're nowhere closer to a championship than you were the season before when you're a player as good as Giannis. So I understand completely Giannis saying, hey, I've done all that I can do. I've continued to be better. I have been great. It's just the supporting cast that you guys have put around me has not been. So it comes as no shock that you hear Shams talking about, yeah, Giannis is open to change. He's open to a trade. And if I'm Giannis, I don't know if... It's not like you haven't tried. Let's say that. It's not like you haven't tried to put your best foot forward. It's not like you haven't tried to will your team to another championship. Again, Giannis has won damn near every award that you can win. He has MVPs. He has finals MVPs. He has defensive player of the years. It's like, what else can I do? So if I was Giannis, I would think about leaving. I would strongly consider leaving because I've done all that I can do. But then we get to that number one overall pick. And it goes to value. At the end of the day, you have to assess value. Because it's pretty much no question that Cooper Flagg is going to be the number one overall pick. That's no question. Yeah, Dylan Harper's good. Ace Bailey's good. But Cooper Flagg is the projected number one overall pick, and he's one of the best projected picks in years. So I look at it as, how do you value Cooper Flagg compared to how do you value someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo? And this goes both ways. This is to Dallas and this is to Milwaukee. Because if Dallas goes to Milwaukee and say, hey, we'll give you the number one overall pick for Giannis, does Milwaukee view Cooper Flagg on the same level? Maybe not immediately, but does Cooper Flagg give you the same return as a Giannis? Same thing with the Dallas Mavericks. If you trade the number one overall pick, you have to be getting number one overall pick quality, whether that's a massive haul or that's a player that you could see change your franchise immediately. And if you think Giannis is that good, then I don't see. I can see it happening. For Giannis, I think that there's multiple teams that can get him. There's 29 other teams that should call the Milwaukee Bucks to see about Giannis. That doesn't mean that all 29 teams are viable, but there's two teams that I'm looking at. three now. This Dallas Mavericks team, the Houston Rockets, because when you just look at the surplus of young talent, you got Houston and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, if you've heard a theme in those teams, they are all Western Conference teams. Which would then, the talent gap is already out of whack, already not aligned. Because when you just look at the sheer talent that's in the West compared to the East, it's not really comparable when we talk about stars. And when you take probably the East's biggest star in Giannis and send him to the West, But I look at those teams, Dallas, now with the number 1 overall pick. I look at a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder that just has a bevy of top draft picks and young players. And I also look at someone like the Houston Rockets. I think for Giannis, what's important, if you ask for a trade or a trade happened, what you're saying is what's important to Giannis is winning. Because there's no doubt that the Milwaukee Bucks can give you the most money out of anyone. So if money is the issue, then that can always be rectified. Hell, look at Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was saying, I know football and basketball is different, but Myles Garrett was adamant and he was not happy in Cleveland. And he was adamant that it's winning, that he wants to be a winner. He wants to compete for a championship. He is one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in football. And he doesn't feel a championship is close in Cleveland. Those were his sentiments. Clearly, those changed when Cleveland went to him and made him, I think, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So if it's about money for Giannis, then there's no reason to leave Milwaukee. And honestly, outside of the Pacers, which I don't, with that rivalry and what happened with Halliburton's dad, I think the Pacers are off the table. There is not another team in the East that can really give you what you want outside of the Boston Celtics, which we'll talk about in a second, which I don't see that happening. So if it's about money, I don't see why Giannis leaves. But if it's about winning a championship, if it's about competing at the highest level, I don't see why Giannis stays. Because you can't do that. You can't do that, and I don't see you doing that in Milwaukee, at least to this point, because the team's going to be strapped for money. It's not really a free agent destination. I just don't see how that happens. And those three teams that I named, Dallas, Houston, and OKC, those are all championship-ready teams with Giannis. Remember, we just talked about Jalen Green, and we were saying that they need a closer. They need a star. Well, if you add Giannis to that Thunder team, to that Rockets team, while no, he's not a shooter, he for sure will be their best player by far. And you add him to a team with Alfred Şengün, you're probably going to have to give up Jalen Green. But if you don't have to give up Jalen Green, you see what I'm going? With the amount of draft picks, you're not really going to have to give up much if you're the Thunder. So you add him to a team with Shai Gilgeous and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. Like, come on. The thing about the offseason is it's long for a lot of teams. Pause. For a lot of teams, once you lose, you lose. Some teams that don't make it to the playoffs obviously have a much longer off season than other teams, but because it's a long off season, it gives you ample amount of time to really assess what you want, to really assess your team as an organization, and to really assess where your future is going to be. And if I'm Giannis, I don't make, and I don't think I'll ever make as much as Giannis has made in his life, but you have to decide what's important to him. And if I'm Dallas in particular, is Giannis, this version of Giannis, worth the number 1 overall pick? Because, again, we're not just talking about now, we're talking about in the future. And I look at it as this. Will Cooper Flagg ever be on the same level as Giannis? Obviously, this is hyperbole, and you never know until you know. He can turn out to be LeBron. He can turn out to be Greg Oden. You don't know. He could be Anthony Bennett. I doubt it, but he could be Anthony Bennett. But if you're Dallas, do you see Cooper Flagg being that cornerstone piece that Giannis essentially is? Because if not, then you make the move. But if you do, or if you, I'm saying this, if you think Cooper Flagg is going to be all that, then there's no reason to change. There's no reason to trade that number 1 overall pick. Because essentially, in your eyes, you're getting a Giannis. Or you're getting somebody that is going to be on that level. But if you're Nico Harris, and you have preached defense wins championships, and you preached that you're in win now mode, and you have an opportunity possibly to trade the number 1 overall pick to get someone that undoubtedly makes your team not just a championship caliber team, but possibly a championship favorite, you make that deal 10 times out of 10. And if you're Milwaukee, you already know that your player, you already know that Giannis is possibly 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's like we can essentially restart the franchise, which doesn't really happen immediately. And not, yes, I don't think Cooper Flagg is going to be Giannis year 1, but you have a cornerstone. And you're injecting youth from an already old team. It's definitely something to think about. It's definitely something to think about. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's a long off season. So we'll see, even though it hasn't started yet. So, or at least for some teams. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.